Welcome, Kunle Banwo, to Leadership Blueprint Podcast.
Thank
I
you very
see
much.
you once again.
Thank you very
Uh,
much. Thank you. Great to see you too.
I'm always delighted to do this with you all the time. Um, just to use this opportunity to thank all our viewers who have been taking time out to view our various podcasts. I'm not going to say the figure is a huge figure, but I can tell you that in the last 28 days, we've had thousands of people view all our podcasts in the last 28 days, and which is very, very uh, impressive and very, very encouraging. Now, it is not the statistics that is important, and that is why I am not going to say the number, because what is truly important to us, as you and I know, is the change that actually happens and the implementation of that change that happens in the life of people. That is what we're concerned about. That is what we want to see. It is not the metrics of thousands of millions of people that is viewing our podcast. That is very, very important to us. For some people, that is what is important. But for us, it is to see people being able to take what we are doing on this podcast and be able uh, to put it to reality. I think that is what we are most interested in, and that is why we are doing this podcast.
Absolutely. And
Over
you're
time,
correct.
yeah, over time we have not, we are not so much interested in the money that will be made. Obviously, you need the money to keep keep it going, but that is not the focus, and we want our audience to know that our primary focus is not to profit from them, but to bring about a transformational change in their life. Kunle, I just wanted to say a word before we dive into today's podcast, which is going to be on leading transformational change. I just
No,
want to say what
yeah.
our audience
No,
have.
thank you again, my friend Shegun. It's delightful to come together and discuss this, particularly at this critical time that we in our experience.
Yeah,
And definitely, as you said, it's encouraging and also delightful to know that we are uh, we are discussing what is relevant to people. That'll be the reason I imagine why they feel like this is something that they can engage with, listen to, think about, and also look at what unique role that they have to play in society, in all of the spheres where we operate. So it is very encouraging, and I do hope that our viewers will continue to engage with us. The stakes are very high.
very
There's so
hard.
much happening all over the world, including in our own uh, beloved continent and in the country of our births. So we cannot be just be sleeping and watching things happen, and we're just wondering what's going on. We have to be engaged. We have to be activated so that we also play a part. So thank you very much, Shagun.
Thank you, Kunle. Um, like I said at the beginning, we are going to focus on leading a transformational change. Kunle, we all know, you and I both know that change is a very simple word, but it's very, very difficult uh, to execute. And it's even more difficult to confront when it is you that needs to make that change. Every one of us, we are usually very comfortable with our comfort zone where we don't, particularly when we are able to settle down in a particular role, in a particular place, under a particular circumstances, and things seems to be okay. There is nothing that is troubling the boat. Nothing is rocking. the boat, as it were, and there is nothing that is trying to play funning around us. We are usually very comfortable in that space. But when change comes, only something needs to be done. And oftentimes people are not ready to change, but that doesn't mean if we are not ready, that doesn't mean it's going to stop the change. Whether you are ready or whether you are not ready, it does not stop change from happening. It's either you change, you make up your mind to change and transform as things are changing around you, or you get consumed by that change. So, Kunle, I want to ask you, what is a transformational change? It's not just ordinary change, but a transformational change.
Great question as always, and once again, it's a privilege for us to be discussing this. I'll share my thoughts, and I know you also have quite a bit
Definitely.
to share on this. So, and I start by saying that change is happening all around us,
Mm,
all of the time.
mm,
Personal, societal,
mm,
corporate,
mm,
technological,
mm,
so many
mm,
dimensions,
mm.
dynamics,
Culturally,
um,
even.
culturally, so many things are happening around us, perhaps even all at once.
Yeah.
And it's literally touching every sphere of our lives. And the effects of these changes, some of them we're not even quite sure what they mean just yet.
Mm,
Some of them we're still wondering, okay, we're like active observers.
mm,
But then do you also know that it's possible that changes might be happening and one might be entirely oblivious to it. Maybe you don't even know that that kind of change is going on.
absolutely.
So, and it's the nature of this change that we're already talking about when we talk about transformational change,
Mm,
a change that does not leave things the same,
mm,
a kind of change that brings, if you like, a sort of conversion, like sometimes turning things on its head,
mm,
sometimes turning things either upside down or right side up.
mm,
We're talking about changes that are thorough, that are dramatic in nature.
mm,
In the real sense of it, these are the kinds of change that we're facing. I'd like to kind of make it as pragmatic as possible and as practical as possible. I look at what has happened just in the last 1 week alone,
mm,
in the various nations that we live in. And if I also take this back to, say, the nation of Nigeria,
mm,
I look at just the last 1 week,
mm.
and you can see the kind of changes that are happening and the effect, the real
The atmosphere completely changed. The
100%.
narrative completely changed under 1 week.
Yes, the effect that's happening on the ground, that's happening in the minds of people. So transformational change is that kind of change that brings a sort of reverberation. It has a reverberating effect, something that just does you can't ignore,
Mm,
whether you are aware of it or not. Uh, you see, I keep saying this that when we look at change, we're either making change happen
mm.
or change is happening to us. In any case,
It's happening to
both
all of us all the time.
all of the time. In fact,
All the time.
change is happening to all of us all of the time
All the
because it's not every change that we have the control over to initiate. So various parties, so people are trying all the time to change our reality.
time.
So, and this is something that it to me it calls for a kind of awareness, alertness to understand that there are things happening which are literally changing the way our lives operate, the way society operates, the way business operates, even the way we think. You say, I'm coming to a point, Shagun, and this is something that I've not fully thought through it, but it's beginning to form in my mind. I'm wondering whether transformational change
Mm,
can be, or any change at all, can be put into two buckets: ideological
mm,
and technological.
mm,
And the reason I'm saying that is oftentimes most changes that happen that are transformational in nature, or even, I mean, regardless of the degree of transformation, is always somebody's idea.
yeah.
Sometimes and oftentimes it is rooted in a particular philosophy, a
A
particular,
revolutionary idea.
yeah, a particular way of believing, a way of seeing things. And someone is saying, well, it doesn't have to be this way. I'll give you an example.
Mm,
Healthcare, as we know it, is changing so much
mm,
that people are thinking, well, it doesn't have to be this way. And the last COVID that happened perhaps introduced some of these things that, oh, you mean in the past we would have taken X number of years to produce vaccines.
mm,
And then suddenly, because of a way of thinking
yeah,
and the maturity of technology,
yeah,
you're seeing that that whole idea, paradigm has been turned entirely on its head.
yeah,
And I feel like that's probably just the beginning of something that we are not quite sure what it might be. But that's one example. You can also look at various other examples. Technology, for example, just on its own. Look at the way we engage with data has changed so much. Of course, we use the buzzword AI, right? All of the various varieties of AI, Gen AI, agentic AI, to discuss this. But we're fundamentally talking about how we deal and interact with data. And this in is bringing what I would call, in fact, I would call it extreme transformational change, because it's not just transformational, it's literally disrupting and, I mean, turning things in a way that we have not yet understood.
mm,
So, I've tried not to use a dictionary definition, but to use a practical um, way of looking at transformational change
mm,
and the kind of effect that it has on us. It's the kind of change that once as it's happening and once it happens, you are not left the same. You are definitely, it does not leave you the way it met you.
mm,
It has entirely upended things,
mm.
turn things around, and you would have and you'll be forced to change how you see things and you do things. That's my view on transformational change. I wonder, and I know you particularly in your in in the states, for example, I know a lot is happening.
A lot is going on.
How do you see transformational change, particularly in terms of from an experiential point of view?
Mm. Well, Kunle, I would say that when we talk about transformational change, we're talking about something that is profound. It's something that is beyond what you can just give or what you can use a regular vocabulary to describe. It is something that is experiential that takes you to another level. That is not to say that uh, transformational change is mystical. Sometimes it could come from that point of view, but it means a change that happens so dramatically that alters the way that it alters the way you have always understood things. It is a form of re-engineering of the norms and the status quo. And oftentimes, when you are the one that wants to initiate that change, one of the things that you have to do to really initiate a transformational change is that you don't have to believe that things are already the way that it should be, which means you have to question everything around you. You know, sometimes I would love to share with Christians that it's okay to question your faith sometimes. It's okay to question God. It's okay to question your existence. You know, when you don't come to those fundamental points where you have to ask questions about everything. You know, God is not a dumb God, and he doesn't create you a dummy. And for the fact that you are questioning these things doesn't mean you have become an anathema, if I want to use the language, a theological language in that space. But what it means is that you suddenly have become somebody who is trying to investigate what the truth is.
Your level of awareness
Exactly, has been
has been raised.
has risen up. So
Yes,
you want to come to a point whereby you want to be sure and you want that certainty that what I am doing has some logical sense to it. And in
credibility,
fact,
validity.
it has validity. It's something you can rely upon. Now, for example, I have come to a point because I have been there. I have come to a point of no return in my Christian faith, for example. Not because somebody preached to me or because there is a Bible that says so and so what. This is part of the transformational change that we are talking about. You know, change often happens at two levels. For example, it happens on a personal level. That means the change has to begin with you. And then it also happens at the point of trying to initiate that change, whether in an organization, in a society, or in a different setting. So, in essence, what I'm saying is that change, like you said, is something that happens that becomes totally irreversible. When it happens, it has happened. You cannot revert back to the old ways of doing things. The status quo has to give way for the new to emerge. And
Yeah.
that is what I will say about change.
In other words, a time comes in everyone's life
Yeah,
where it is not just the faith of our fathers,
yeah,
it
that
has
is
to
very
become
much,
your
yeah,
own faith.
your personal faith, your
It has to be
personal
your,
encounter.
and do you know, Shagun, and that I'm sure, like you're saying, I suspect you have also gone through that. A
Yeah,
time comes when you have what I would call divine doubts.
exactly,
And
exactly.
that's what leads to questions and
Question.
say,
Yeah,
is this so?
yeah,
You become more
yeah,
interrogative, more investigative.
yeah,
And people who uh perhaps a little fearful, maybe thinking, oh wait, no, no, don't go there. Just
yeah,
shrink back from it.
yeah,
But you see, to me, that's one of the best experience anyone can have
yeah,
as you transition from being in a feathered environment
yeah.
to being able to have wings that are strong enough for you to fly with.
Mm,
I mean, I did a study many years ago to see how eagles grow.
mm,
Initially, as they begin, they are in their nests.
mm,
The eagles, the mother eagle, the father eagle will put a lot of plumage
mm,
inside the nest. It'll be very comfortable.
mm,
But when they see they come meticulously, judiciously feed the eaglets, feed them, go hunt, feed them. Change sometimes even change the plumage and put new ones. But a time comes when they begin to make that environment more uncomfortable. They begin to remove the plumage and say, it's time to get out of this nest.
mm,
The eaglet now has to learn to fight, to fly,
mm,
or it's on its own.
mm,
And that is a time when you have to test your wing. These wings that I've been carrying about, are they really working?
mm.
And you know what they do? They put the eaglet on their back. They go on let's try these things out. And they drop the eaglet in mid-air and say, well, try it or drop.
Actually, do you know what you have just said now has become what you've just narrated about the eagle and the eaglets has become my own model of fathering my children. Now, when we were growing up, at least for me, when I was growing up, uh, there was always a protection against what I can learn about, where I can go to, where what I can be exposed to. Now, the reason why people are doing that is because uh, they want to control your worldview. They don't want you, they want you to maintain the worldview, just like you said, they want us to maintain the faith of our father. Of course, there is nothing wrong with the faith of our fathers, but I also believe, in as much as we are doing that, of course, I do that to my own children, but at the same time, I also expose them to other things that are out there that they can engage with. You see, the world we are in, we cannot afford to put ourselves in a cocoon and say we want to be in a secluded place where the things that is happening in the world is not going to touch us. In fact, we have even, that barrier is permanently broken now. The world that we live in, we have to engage with that world. And there is no way you can engage with that world if you don't know what is happening in that world.
Maybe I should put it this way.
Yeah.
That world is already engaging with you,
It's
whether
engaging with
you
that.
like it or not.
Exactly. So you cannot afford to continue to shy away. For example, some Christians will say, I can't read certain books. I can't. You see, my podcast, I listen to the atheists. I listen to those who are godly. I want to hear what everybody is saying and then be able to make my own judgment. I believe that is one of the most profound way of of creating the change that we're talking about. You cannot just afford to say your own way is the only way to go about. You have to know what other people are thinking and then be able to judge things for yourself to know what actually should be the way to go.
Let me attempt to put this in the words of Jesus.
Yeah.
And it is that parable which you are very familiar with. He said, whoever hears my sayings
Mm.
is like a man.
Yeah.
He said, whoever hears my saying and practices them is like a man that builds his house on a rock.
Mm.
And when the rain came
Mm.
and the wind blew
Mm.
and the floods came,
Yeah.
the house remained
Mm.
strong.
It's very solid.
He said, but the other party that does not engage with my word and keep my saying, he said the change, the same kind of change
Yeah.
happens to them
And
equally.
it will,
The difference is that was not, they were not left standing.
yeah.
So what I'm just trying to say, just corroborate what you're saying, but because I know that a sizable um, population of our audience are of this sort of this bias, and just to say that, listen, there's no need, there's no shying away and say, oh, you know what, I don't want my faith to become damaged. Well, if your faith is true faith, it cannot be damaged.
Yeah, it cannot be damaged. It will withstand every form of error.
And that's why you have to indeed know it to be so for yourself. Like just like the Bereans, you know, Paul was very prominent, but after he had taught, these guys would go back and say, "Let's check this," so that they could validate it on for themselves that, oh, indeed, these things are so. Do you know the people that don't do that? They are the ones that soon fall away, get offended, and say, "No, they've been lying to us. They've just been cheating us," and then they go, because there's no substance, there's no foundation that they're building for themselves. But yes, I just wanted to just keep that in, and I'll let us carry on.
Kunle, do we really need this sort of change in Africa? Do you think it's something that we should yearn for, that we should put, if I want to say, put all our egg in one basket to
Mm.
say that it has to be? What do you think? Do you
It's
think?
it's a, it's, it's a two-edged sword. there is no there is no change that leaves people exactly the same way it
Yeah.
meets them.
Mm,
Some are going to have positive effect,
mm,
others not quite so.
mm,
That's why I say it's a double-edged sword. So put it this way: if as changes are happening, no matter the kind of change,
mm.
some people are going to be better for it,
Yeah.
and unfortunately,
Going to be wiped
another
away.
population would be the worse for it.
Yeah.
It's always been the nature of change, anywhere, any
That's
day, anytime. So, but the question is, what is the what needs or what do we need to do to increase the odds of being positively impacted by change or being able to withstand the change in order to have some desirable outcomes? And this is why I use that word that time, that the capacity to raise our level of awareness
mm,
so that we understand
mm,
the kind of changes that are happening
mm,
and also anticipate the kind of changes that might be
mm,
on the way.
mm,
Because the more we are educated, trained, capacitated to develop the capacity to recognize this,
mm,
the better it will be for us.
mm,
Then change will not just happen to us
mm.
or even damage us. Even if that change is meant to have a damaging effect, but because you are better informed about it, because you are
And we are
anticipating.
also anticipating that change.
Exactly. You can put up some kind of better response. So, for example, if you live in a place where on a flood line, where
Yeah.
you know this place flood,
Yeah.
and you are aware, you know the seasons.
Yeah.
I think you probably say, you know what, let's go and store some sandbags, some sandbags. Let's build some kind of fortress against it.
Obvious.
You will be doing something. So that when that flood comes,
Yeah.
you are likely to
Yeah.
still be on your feet. But assuming that you are sleeping when that flood comes, you have no idea that's going to come. It
Yeah.
just happens to you. Well, the chances are the damage will be enormous.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying that it is not the fact that change happens that is really the problem, because change will happen regardless.
Mm,
It is the fact that we are educating ourselves to understand the kind of climate in which we live and the kind of changes that are ensuing
mm,
and what that change means for us and what we ought to do. This is where again I put this in scriptural context. There's this tribe. They are called the children of Isaac
mm,
at the time when David was just becoming king.
mm,
Now, when you look at all of the various tribes of Israel at that time, you see that most of the tribes, other tribes, they had thousands of representation. You see some tribes, they had 64,000 people.
yeah.
Another tribe, they had maybe several thousands. But this tribe of Isaac, they were only 200 leaders strong,
Mm,
meaning that they were like the smallest of all of the clans. But there was something that was unique about them. They they ensured that their number was not a disadvantage.
mm,
Scripture says that they had understanding of the times to know what Israel ought to do.
mm,
You see, population is not necessarily an advantage or a disadvantage.
mm,
It depends on what you do with it.
mm,
200 people strong, but they knew what the time
mm,
meant and what they ought to do.
mm,
And do you know what happened? They became consultants to the rest of the tribes. They
mm.
were now the one telling the other ones that are 60,000 people
That's how we're dependent on them.
exactly because it is not the biggest that's always the strongest.
This is smartest.
It is the smartest. It is the one that knows what to do with knowledge.
Yeah.
It is the one that knows that having data is not enough.
Yeah.
It is one that knows that having information is not enough. It is one that knows that having intelligence is not enough.
Yeah.
It is the one that knows that wisdom
Yeah.
is the principal thing so that data, information, intelligence become tools with
Yeah.
which you operate.
Exactly. Now, Kunle, one of the most realization that I I've been aware of myself. I can't say precisely when that's realized. It. Maybe I would say maybe 2017, if I want to bring it to any specific time. That not to say that I didn't have some measure of that awareness before then, but that awareness became so solid, became so visible that I knew that this is what it is. And that is the realization that whatever change that you imagine, whatever change that you want in the society, whatever change that you want in your family, whatever change you want in your workplace, the realization that I have is that it has to begin with you. And I can't tell you how transformative this knowledge has personally, how it has been for me. Because come to think of it, the for many people, for an average people, when they are talking about change, they want other people to change. They want the government to change. They want the way banks are operating to change. They want the way the schools are operating to change. They just want things around them to change for them. But they are not looking at the bigger picture of how do I also contribute this to this change by also focusing on myself to see how that change that begins with me have a more imposing impact on the larger society. Now, there were two powerful quotes that has truly transformed me in this sense. One was from Mahatma Gandhi, which has become my my personal maxim now. Mahatma Gandhi says, "Be the change that you want to see in the world." Now, Kunle, when I'm thinking about change now, I don't focus much on people around me or the nation around me. I focus, of course, you and I know that the focus has to be on yourself. You have to be that change that you are desiring. That is the only way you can get the chance to bring that change to the society. And another thing, another maxim that has also transformed the way I see myself in initiating a transformational change is this quotation from John C. Maxwell. You know, John Maxwell is a powerful, is a transformational leader in his own right himself. Like John C. Maxwell says, when we are foolish, we want to conquer the world. But when we are wise, we want to conquer ourselves. I cannot tell you how much impact those statements had made on me. And it has affected how I see the world, how I see my wife, how I see my children, how I see my friends, those who are closest to me. It has totally transformed my relationship with people because the biggest change has to begin with me.
100%. No, it is that is what it's called wisdom.
Yeah.
Because look at it. I mean, I growing up, I was told of this very simple experiment that when you point a finger, more of those fingers are actually pointing at you.
Pointing back to you.
When you point at someone,
Yeah.
there's more that actually
Yeah.
you are responsible for
That's very
than
powerful.
that you care to admit.
Yeah.
And I was discussing with somebody I love so much recently, and I was saying that, in fact, with my dad, I I was saying that we often judge other people by their own actions,
Yeah.
whereas we judge ourselves by our intentions. We say, I didn't mean to do that. And that's all down to self-preservation. We want to justify our position. We don't want to face criticism, but we're very quick to tell other people you are wrong. They should have done this, should have done that. And all of this is all part of that, what I would call the lack of taking personal responsibility. And that's what you're talking about. You see, the wisdom you shared is
Mm,
also true in the sense that I'll put it this way, some people want to boil the ocean,
mm,
whereas all you need to do is fill your kettle
mm,
and boil water in your kettle.
mm,
Sometimes we want to change the world,
mm.
but really, look, there are too many things that are outside of our control.
Yeah, too many things.
And that's why we ought to focus on personal change. What is it that I'm responsible for? What is the things around me that I can change now? Not even later, the ones I can change right now.
And that is
That
where personal leadership comes in.
100%. That once I begin to take the responsibility to change those things, first, I have to be aware of those things
Yeah.
and own up to it and say, wait a minute, I get angry a bit too quickly. You have to tell yourself that, because when other people are saying it to you, all you are hearing is criticizing me. He doesn't like me. Who does he think he is? But when you tell yourself, come on, oh boy, sit down. You you don't respond to things with maturity. That is when change happens. In fact, Shagun, maybe this is going to be one of our questions later. True change happens when you tell yourself, wait a minute.
Mm. Wait a minute.
When you call yourself to order and say,
You pause and
yeah,
reflect.
when you pause, when you reflect and say, you actually call yourself as if you say, young man, sit down here.
Mm,
You need to change your head.
mm,
Something is wrong with you.
mm,
That is when you change.
mm,
Change will never happen
mm,
until there is what I would call a pollination, an impregnating of the ideas in your mind.
mm,
As long as you retain the way you see things currently, no
mm,
change is going to happen
mm,
because, well, it means the status quo is what persists.
mm,
But when you question yourself and say, no, 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 this should not be this way,
mm,
that is when you begin to change.
mm,
It is as true as what we see in scriptures. In fact, they say that it is the day a mad person
mm,
begins to actually question himself and say, wait a minute, what's going on here? That is when the change begins.
mm,
So, so what you're saying is very true. And it's also true for me.
mm.
I most of my what I would call my headaches started to stop when I found out that I don't need to change any of my friends.
Yeah,
I don't need to change my spouse.
yeah. You don't have to.
I need to change. I need to listen.
Exactly.
You don't have to shout at that.
Mm,
You can your default response must not be that of anger. That's
mm,
when I began to change.
mm.
But unless you are willing to
Yeah,
confront yourself,
yeah.
there is no, in fact, put it this way. That's why I think scripture says that better is he
Mm,
who controls his own emotion
mm,
than he who tries to lead a city.
mm,
The
mm,
issue we have is this: we have many people in positions of leadership
mm.
who don't have any self-control. They are not control. They're not confronting themselves. They're not saying, "Hey, hey, hey,
You
hey."
don't have self-reflection.
No reflection, no self-awareness. They always think it is other people's fault.
Mm,
That is why we don't even have change. Now, I'll put it this way, and I'm sure you're gonna agree with me. We have no chance of seeing any change in our nation or society or corporations
mm.
when we ourselves are not willing to change. There's
Exactly.
no chance. Let's not even waste our time.
Yeah.
So what we're advocating first and foremost is that kind of personal leadership
Mm,
that brings that awareness. And it always starts with awareness.
yeah.
When you now say, "Oh, where am I?
mm,
I'm wearing rag.
mm,
How did this happen?
mm,
I'm feeding with swine.
mm.
Who put me here? How did I
You have
get
to
here?
begin to question everything around you.
Yes, this is not okay. What's going on here?
Mm,
What am I doing here?
mm,
That is when the change happens.
mm.
It is not the seminar. Honestly, we can talk for 100 hours
Yeah.
and it will have no effect on people at all
Mm,
until their sense of personal awareness
mm,
rises and say, oh, 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 oh,
mm,
oh. A student starts to have better grades
mm,
when suddenly the subject begins to mean something to him that this is this no, I can't be here.
mm,
That is the fundamental ingredient of change. Without that, nothing happens. In fact, what happens is everything will be happening around you, and you'll be thinking the world is my problem. Everybody hates me. You will be fighting the world. You'll be trying to boil the
Exactly.
ocean.
Exactly. Mm.
You'll be trying to you will start to stone every tree you see. And they say that it is the stone you throw at the palm tree that it throws back at you. But when you say then you say no, drop the stone. That's not the point.
Mm,
I need to go and correct myself.
mm,
That's where it begins.
mm. Now, Kunle, if I can distill all that we've been saying down, we'll be saying for some time into a concise idea, I can say that when we talk about how do I get transformed, what we are simply saying is that uh, we are asking ourselves basically two questions. Number one, how do I begin my personal leadership? How do I take responsibility for myself? Then number two, you are also asking yourself, how do I engage with people and things around me? This is how change happens. Number one, you need to focus on yourself, then how you are going to translate that which you have discovered about yourself, how you now relate that to the people and to the things that are outside of you.
Maybe I should ask it. I should add a few more to that, Shego. You know, and I say this all the time. The last time I was in London,
Mm,
I was trying to go to the Nigerian embassy,
mm,
and I got to a particular junction around Strand, and I was just trying to figure out, oh, where am I? Because I just came out of the tube,
yeah,
and sometimes if you don't live in London all the time,
yeah,
and you
yeah,
get you just feel like, oh, you feel a bit disoriented. You're
yeah,
wondering, where do I
exactly.
turn? Do I turn to the right? And you don't want to turn to the wrong junction because you must have walked a mile before you realize that unless you want to turn on your maybe your personal map, right?
Yes,
But assuming you say, let me even understand where I am.
yeah,
One of the things that I like that I see a lot around the UK is there's this it's
a
like a
little,
map,
yeah.
like so, and then they do like a small billboard like in a glass. So once you go there, do you know the most helpful thing you see there?
Mm.
You are here.
Wow.
And that thing, that you see the whole map, but that thing tells you this is where you are. It tells you that location. Now, from where you are, you can now lift your face and
Where
say,
did I come from?
you can say,
This is
well,
where
okay, I
I'm
just came
coming
out of
from.
the, exactly. This is where I've come from. This is where I'm going,
Where
but
I'm
I know
going.
where I
Yeah,
am.
yeah.
Honestly, that thing it never see, I deliberately go to view it all the time, even though I can just put my stuff on my phone and say and do my Google map, but I just like the concept, so I always go and say to what you are here. See that you are here thing is so important.
Mm,
You are here, okay,
mm,
but I need to go there.
mm.
Then you can begin to ask other things. Who am I? Okay. Me that I am the child of Chief XYZ. Yeah, good for you, right? but you need to know where you are on the way to where you're going. So, and if you think about change, particularly transformational change, It's always trans. Trans means movement.
Yeah.
It's movement from one point or
Uh,
one state or one status in life to another state.
mm,
One status and state in society to
mm,
another state. But we must be able to define where we are.
mm,
We are currently here. And that being aware or knowing where we are is part of what I say the personal awareness. A clear
mm,
examination
mm,
of this is what it is and this is how it is. This is where we are. This is where we are situated in life. Honestly, we have no chance of changing anything unless that is clarified. You can now say, based on who I believe I am, is that where I should be? Or okay, and the question then becomes, how do I get from here to that place? Who do I need? And all those questions will follow. But it is essential.
mm,
The word essential, it comes from, it's also the word that we use, the word essence. It means it is a fundamental requirement
mm,
that must be engaged in order to have the promise
mm.
of that transformational change becoming a reality. Otherwise, it doesn't.
Kunle, I read a book. In fact, I'm kind of lost which of the book I read. My mind is telling me it's a book written by Napoleon Hill or maybe
Norman Vincent Peale,
Napoleon Hill.
Napoleon Hill.
Yeah,
Yes.
so I'm think my mind is telling me it was from that book that I read this story that I'm about to share. How to maintain positive mental attitude or something like that is
Okay.
what my mind
Yeah.
is telling me, but I am not quite sure whether it was from that book that I read this story from. It's a very powerful story. That story stuck with me for for close to 25 years now. Now, the story talks about a man. He was a preacher. He wanted to preach a sermon. Uh, the following day. So it was on a Saturday. He was in his study trying to prepare the sermon. Of course, you know what it takes to prepare a sermon. You need to sit down, you need to reflect, you need to bring in a lot of things together to be able to make a sense of what you are doing or what you're going to say in the service. Now, while this man was trying to prepare the sermon, his young uh, son, maybe about 4 years old, kept coming to the study, interrupting the man, distracting the man. Of course, you know, when you are distracted, you are not able to focus, you are not able to get the best of your study. So the man decided, oh, what will I do to keep this child away from distracting me? So the man decided to uh, get a map of the world very close by on his table. And then, okay, let me shred this map of the world into smaller pieces. And then, of course, the map of the world was a colorful one, so it's easier to. So he kind of tore the map of the world into smaller pieces and then asked the young boy to put the map of the world together. So that he can use that as a way of engaging the boy while he is busy preparing the sermon. Thinking maybe fixing the world would probably take the boy about maybe 1 hour or thereabout. By that time, he would have gone far with his preparation. So, but the boy, okay, was excited. The boy started fixing the map. But fortunately for the boy was able to see an image of a man just at the other side of the map. So the boy decided to flip those puzzle the other way around and then use the image of the man to fix the map. So he fixed the man at the back of the world. I was able to put it together, and then all he needed to do was to flip it over and then show his daddy and say, Daddy, I've been able to fix the world. Now, that story sounds very naive and simple, but is very, very powerful. Now, by just fixing the man, the boy was able to fix the world. He didn't need to struggle with the world. All that he needed to do was to fix the man. And the moral of that story is that rather than concentrating on fixing the world, let's focus on fixing ourselves, the man within us. And as we fix the man that is within us, then we will be capable of fixing the world around us. And that was how the man was able to get a sermon topic for himself to even be able to preach the following day. Now, the importance of this story is that we should, when we are talking about leading a transformational change, it is not going out there and begin to exert pressure, begins to show muscles and begin to present yourself as another Superman that has just appeared from Saturn or from one planet. It is to deeply focus and reflect on yourself. And then from there, you can carry on the change around you.
Absolutely. And honestly, yes, I definitely remember that story. I'm sure I read the book as well. And it is always true. See, principle, fact, or or principles are always true. It doesn't matter on in any environment that you present them. They're always true.
Yeah,
That if you fix, if you sort out the fundamentals,
yeah.
the subsequent things will take care of themselves, or will start to take care of themselves. You stand a better chance of
Mm,
taking care of those things. And this is in fact why we're looking at this. And 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 the reason why this is important is this, to put this in context, we are always talking about the things that are within our own control.
mm,
I can't change your emotion, how you feel. No. All I can take care of is how I feel. In fact, I think I read a book, or it must, yeah, or maybe it was one of these, um, because I like a lot of podcasts. So I think it must have been as I read a book that someone was saying that when someone has done something to you,
mm,
they've already exercised their power.
mm,
Your power lies in how you respond.
mm.
And since that is yours to
Oh,
determine, then they don't have control over you. If you can cede control back to them if you respond the way they expect to respond. But if you say no, no,
I'm going
I'm
to
gonna
respond
choose,
differently.
I'm gonna choose my response.
Yeah,
Say then you disempower them.
exactly.
They have no more control over you. So
Yeah,
if somebody does something and expect you to be angry, and you say, you know what, okay, um, it's okay. Let's remain friends. You entirely disempower them. I think that's the principle what Jesus was teaching when he said that if somebody compels you to go with him a mile, go with him 2 miles because he expects you to grumble. He expects you to fight and agitate. We say, oh, are you okay here? No, let me go with you another mile. You take away all his power because he thinks is exercising control over you. And and this is where it comes back to um, the what I would call self-government,
mm,
which is another word for personal leadership.
mm,
Isn't this true at every level, though?
mm,
Whether it is a business leader or just a young professional or just a small business owner or even people operating at bigger offices, including our president and prime ministers, if they have personal control, our nations will be better led. The problem is this: positions of authority don't add any more power to you, they expose your weakness.
exactly. The,
And what we
the
are seeing,
those who you truly are to
yes,
the people.
what we are seeing is the exposure of the weakness
Mm,
of various people in positions of leadership. Because if you Imagine if we all are on the ground floor and you go to the top third floor and all you're wearing is a robe. You are the one that stands the risk of exposure of showing what you have underneath, unless you're well dressed and protect your nakedness. But we are likely to see through you because you're standing right at the top. You make yourself a spectacle to us. And this is where this comes to. So yes, absolutely, you're right that when we talk about how does transformation happen, true transformation, because look, there are so many changes happening, bringing different kinds of transformation. Some of these transformation are going to dissipate over time. Some of them will last, maybe damage, cause a bit of chaos, and eventually things then start to settle and all that. But when we talk about true lasting transformation, particularly of a positive kind, it is not about cutting corners. It's not about seeking shortcuts. It is this is the fundamental principle. And the reason why most people don't want to go this way is they think it takes too long. Oh, if I start, if I start to change myself, well, they don't, if that's not even crossing their mind, they're just thinking if I can just change person A, person B, person Z, I can get them to align, then things will change. But people who bring true transformation know that it's about creating a culture of change. There must be a change to sustain the change. Sorry, there must be a culture to sustain the change in order for it to be truly lasting. So, and to sustain culture, personal values, the value of each individual must be, if you like, transformed, must be transformed. And then you start to say, ah, right, this change is not just something that happens with an individual, but the next person and the next person and the next person. And then it begins to catch on. It takes a life of its own. In fact, let me put it this way: culture is when an idea has taken on a life of its own.
Mm, mm.
It
Not,
becomes
not relying on what you want to put to it or add to it.
no,
It just
no,
completely
no.
takes a new.
Culture
So
is when ideology
yeah,
or an idea has become a living entity.
yeah, that's true. You know, Kunle, I know sometimes when we talk about the Caucasians, maybe recently the Chinese or the Asian, don't let just say the Chinese alone, the Asians, and including the Indians and, and the Africans, when we are try to identify what each of these categories of humans are. I've taken my time since I moved into US, precisely maybe since 2017. I deliberately decided to study how civilization emerged, how what were the things that were happening that made a civilization to thrive. And I was able to discover that when you see a thriving civilization, at the core of that civilization is creativity and innovation. You will never see an advanced civilization or a civilization progressing or making progress without those fundamental uh, principles which forms the bedrock for that advancement. But unfortunately, we don't need to tell ourselves lies. In Africa, our maxim is often, if it is not broken, why you bother yourself fixing it? And I believe that is one of the things that has placed a lead on our growth and our advancement, because we are only we only have this sense of urgency when things are broken down.
That was very reactive.
We are very active. Whereas if you look at the Caucasian and lately the Asians, the Chinese, Indians, they are more into practicing what I call constant self-disruption, not waiting for things to go into degeneration or into decay before they begin to fix it. They have this, for example, if you go to China, if you go to Japan, if you go to Japan, for instance, they have a word for it, for continuous progress, Kaizen, or something like
Kaizen.
that. Kaizen.
Kaizen. Kaizen, yeah.
Kaizen, which means you have to keep continuous improvement. That is what it means. So, which means when you are talking about continuous improvement, it doesn't have to be broken before you improve upon it. And I think that is one of the areas we need to bring our consciousness to as Africans. And now, if we are asking ourselves, how can we build that type of culture? Because we don't have it yet in our society. We can build things, but we cannot improve on things like these other people that I've just mentioned. And we really need that to be able to make things better for ourselves, to make our society more livable, more progressive. We have to constantly cultivate the idea that we need to continuously reimagine things, reimagining things that things can be done in a better way or in a more efficient way for us to begin to see the progress that we desire. So I just want you to speak to that how can we make continuous self-disruption as one of our way of life? We don't yet have that as our way of life, but how can we make it more pronounced and more concrete within our society?
Thanks. Let me start by this. I want to weave two words into one.
Mm,
The first one is value,
mm,
and the second one is service.
mm, mm. Value service. Mm,
Service. So, and the idea is this,
mm,
Shego, if I value you
mm.
as much as I value myself,
I'll think of a better way to serve you.
exactly, then I'm constantly looking at how can I do
Mm,
constant acts of kindness towards you,
mm,
or what they call good.
mm,
How
mm,
can I render
mm,
valuable service to you?
mm,
Particularly if we both we both face similar challenges, fundamental challenges that are similar in nature.
mm,
And I know that the kind of solution I want for myself is equally good for you.
mm,
I value you that much.
mm,
Then my disposition is altered, it changes
mm,
that, okay, how can I also make this
mm,
service, this solution accessible and available to you? If that is my preoccupation, then the scale of my thinking also is altered because it's now not just the scope and the scale also is changed. It's not like, oh, once I do it, let me just get my own little um, palm kernel. you know, I'm thinking like, rodents. There's this pouch rodent
mm,
in Africa, in particularly in Nigeria. I'm sure you will know it. It goes around to finding palm kernel, and it will just gather enough and take it to its own hole
yeah,
so that both he or she and her children can eat.
yeah,
And that's it. So his hand only can gather whatever the hand can carry. So does it need to innovate and find a way to build a trolley to carry those things? No. It's just the scope is so small that it just says, let me just use what my two hands can carry and carry that into my nest because I just want to eat and I want my little ratlings I've just invented a word there. My, my, my little ratlings to eat. And that's it. But assuming that rat was providing for and say, look, this whole community need to eat. How do I source more of this palm kernel or palm? Yeah, palm kernel. How do I source more? How do I take it from the point of sourcing the product to the point of use? How do I channel it? You were forced to think beyond just let me just carry it and go and eat it. In other words, the vast majority of African thinking is very subsistent,
mm,
is very, what's that word? In that Maslow hierarchy of needs,
yeah.
that level,
Physiological level,
yes, is
physiological need.
physiological needs. I think the
Essentially,
better word I want to use is subsistence, meaning it's just I just want to be okay.
yeah,
And let me have enough for me to be okay. Even if you, my next door neighbor, are living in a rat hole, as long as I have my mansion, then the life is good.
mm,
I can even spin my religion on it and now go and give a testimony and say, "Oh, I just built my mansion. Praise the Lord." The guy next to me is living in a shack
mm,
that is all is all holed up. So when it rains, the guy cannot even sleep because. But I can go and do my religious. So you can see why religion does not even help at all because it does not change that fundamental way of thinking, which is why I said religion is not the solution for us.
mm,
That's a separate matter entirely. But it is more of a value definition.
mm,
Do I value others as much as I value myself?
mm,
And do I value them enough to serve them?
mm,
This is fundamental. It is that kind of mind that innovates,
mm,
that creates things that can be used by just more than me.
mm,
In fact, the very nature of that way of that thinking makes you to find solution. It makes you solution oriented.
mm,
And that solution is not just because your world is too small. Look, like, assuming you even build 10 mansion for yourself, that's the very small world. That's a very, very small, boring world. More so, more so, you're even putting yourself at risk. You make yourself a very easy target. But because now you know you are an easy target, what do? You now go and find you go up in your master hierarchy to find more way to secure yourself.
mm,
So maybe you now go and hire tout gang to secure you, or you want to say, you know what, the police will not only work for the society, will work for me. So all the police I want to be working for me. So you live in your own bubble, your own small world. It's just a very myopic,
mm,
small mind.
mm.
This is the profile of the average African
Yeah, you're
in
right.
quote in
Yeah.
quote big person. If it's a very
One,
very
one,
small.
one of the proof of your big manism is for you to have a security detail following you,
Following
following.
for you alone, just for you. Everything is just for me, just for me, just for me. It's a very small. I mean, I, and the reason why this is not a border is because there's no self-reflection. You cannot even think about it.
Yeah,
You don't even think of the alternative because it's a very you live in your own very small bubble. You know, I'm okay, and I have my now. I want them to recognize me. So you want then go and
yeah,
chase the next chieftaincy title or the
yeah.
next recognition wherever it is. You don't want to be the personal secretary. You want to be the person. You just me, just me, just me. Yeah, and it's a very boring. In fact, it's a very except that it's not such laughable because very embarrassing to be honest with you. Whereas think about it, everything you believe you need, everyone else in society needs it, and people. All of the society that you think, well, I'm not saying selfishness doesn't exist in other societies, but I'm saying that on the average, so what people say is that, look, water is good not only for me, but for everyone else.
Hmm.
So I cannot just start drilling into the earth to bring water. Look at the foolishness of this thing. If there are 10 houses on the street and we have all dug into the ground, we are risking the earth crust. Hey, the day all of those were jammed together. It is such, honestly, it is such not a smart way of doing things. And this is because it just for me, me, and then me. Whereas, whereas, how about we all need
The
good
water.
water,
And we
high-bound water,
and we dig one that serves all of us.
and then we dig one, and then say, let's have pipes that are channeled into every house, and then it serves all of us. Which means I I have to be thinking so. I have to I have to sell the idea. I have to champion that idea to other people because they may not necessarily see it initially. You can see, and eventually, so the act of transferring a vision to other people is actually part of what leadership entails. That is, I not only know that this is good, but I'm able to show other people that this is actually what is needed and get them to believe. That's why true leadership is the capacity to influence through a clear vision that can be transferred from one mind to another. And then you see that, wait a minute, we all now have this same entity that is good for each of us. We now have it. Now we say, oh, wait a minute, this water, how about pollution? So we cannot stay where we are. The first solution is only a version one solution. I'm talking about innovation now.
Yeah.
Then the thinking that says, oh, look, how do you prevent contamination? How do you prevent these other challenges that come with that solution? Is what drives innovation. And because you are constantly thinking about it and you put your resources at it, you see innovation, you see development, you see look, and I just use water, but that can mean any other thing. Think about how many Africans go out to various other countries to study. Just think about it. To do masters, to do PhD. Imagine if somehow the quality, that same quality of education that they are after
Yeah. It's
can also be
like they are within
gotten
their reach.
in in where exactly where so imagine what that means for the economy,
Yeah.
but each person just thinking, my own education, my own Harvard one, my own Oxford one, and and it's just it's a very it's like living in the small tiny bubbles, and it does not crystallize, it doesn't coagulate, so the effect is always dissipated. It's just like it's like you just release multiple balloons and the balloon just float away in the air. You can release a million, but there's see, if you blow 1 million balloons and release all of them to the air, there is nothing that will make them come together. They will all just float away. That is literally our story. If 1 million balloons are tied together to form a bigger balloon, that balloon can carry a heavy weight that you cannot imagine. But because just one balloon here, And there may be a billion of them. It doesn't matter. For example, now we are 230 million, I'm told. So let's say a balloon for each person, and you throw away 230 million balloons in the air, they all just float away.
Exactly.
No effect.
Here we don't even know that something has been released to it.
That is why, in spite of our numbers of our religious organization of this, there's no tangible change. It is all small visions. I call them small balloons. They just float away. It has no effect on the ground. You tell me. What how has the volume of our religious thing, how have they changed society? No, they haven't. How, and pick other things, all the various things that we do, because all of the
And
small.
for as long as to they continue not to see beyond that space where they are, within their space, they think they are making big impact. But when they now have a bigger picture of things, you will see that they are not actually making any impact.
And that's the reality of it. So it's because it's always about me and my thing. Whereas, don't forget those two words: value. Do I value other people
Mm,
in order to serve them the same things that I count to be useful to me? And number two, can we continue to upgrade on that service? Because it is never an event.
mm,
It is a journey.
mm,
It's a journey. Can what are the things I need to improve? Can we do it better? This is the question that all of these people are asking. This is the question that Mr. Mercedes asked, Mr. Peugeot asked, Mr. Caterpillar asked, all the Mr. Microsoft. This is what they ask, Mr. This, Mr. That. And you see that they are constant, they never rest.
mm,
And you see them keep on producing. The next version is better, the next version is better, the next version is an improvement,
mm,
and they keep serving other people.
mm.
Soon they begin to serve nations, they begin to serve the entire world, but they just don't stop. But you tell me tell me which product we are really creating, particularly in the continent, that is truly having that global effect. Well, I know people might say music, okay, and most people around the world believe that what we are only good at is dancing and singing. And well, say at least we are doing something. Okay, well done and good luck. but when serious conversations are to be had, they don't call the singers. I can guarantee you. Maybe they can call the singers just to entertain us. They just sing for us and go and sit down. When the real conversation they're going to go behind the closed door. You're not going to get in. You don't have a place there.
We don't. We don't. Now, Kunle, let's move a little away from that background and talk about the big man behind the scene. I will call that the big man behind the scene. Now, for every transformational agenda, there is one entity that is behind it, and that is your personal growth. You cannot, if you desire to make a transformational impact in your society, in your world, in your organization, you cannot afford to push your personal growth, your personal development, the innate ability, the potential that you have. You cannot afford to put it at the background. In fact, the change you are going to bring to the society is going to be as a result of your effort over time to have been able to develop yourself, uh, develop your potential, and then bring yourself to a point where you can utilize those abilities that you have in a very productive way. Now, one of the biggest decisions, I look back today, when I took that decision, I didn't know how far it would take me, or how long, I don't know where it was going to take me. I didn't know how much impact it was going to have on me. But I look back today and I thank my God for making that decision. One of the most important decisions that I made was made maybe November 30 or or December 1. But all I knew was that the moment I gave my life to Jesus on November 30, 1996, the next big decision that I made personally was to grow myself, never to remain an ordinary Christian or an ordinary person. I decided to put myself on a growth journey. I made that decision, and ever since that time, since December 1, 1996, I have been on a regular, consistent growth journey. And one of the things, now I'm saying this I'm not making, it's not that I'm making mouth or trying to impress anybody. I don't have to, but it's just to help somebody. Our purpose in this podcast is to help somebody. So if I'm saying something that looks out of the blues, it's not for you to focus on me and say, hey, he's doing one great thing. It's so that somebody can see what effort some other people have put into their life that has enabled them to get to where they are. So that is the purpose why I'll be saying this. Now, I didn't do it intentionally. I didn't set out to do it that way, but it ended up becoming that. So that is what I'm trying to emphasize. Now, when I started reading, listening to, then we don't call it podcast. We listen to messages, motivational messages, we read books, we read self-help books, self-development books, we read all kinds of literatures. Now, when I set out to do those things in 1996, I suddenly discovered, because I didn't have wife, I didn't have children, I didn't have much of the responsibility that I have today, so I have all the time to myself. I suddenly discovered that I was averaging 2-3 books every week, reading 2-3 books every week. Sometimes it could even be more, because I was you witness some of this. So what I'm saying today, you were there, so you are there to bear me witness. I was averaging 2-3 books weekly, listening to hundreds of hours of messages, and then just growing myself, developing myself. And when I did the maths sometimes ago, I just was trying to be curious how much I had done for myself. Do you know that from that December 1, 1996 to October 2004, that's about 8 years. Do you know that when I did the maths, I had read over 1,000 books? Not that I set out to do it, but by virtue of just being consistent and intentional with what I was doing, I suddenly discovered that I had read 1,000 books. And by the time I did the maths of the podcast that I had listened to in a year, I suddenly discovered that in a single year, I averaged about 2,000 hours of consistently sitting down to listen to a podcast. Do the maths since 1996 to this time. That's enormous. So when people see us do something like this, it's not today. Oh. It's not also fully. It's not something that just started yesterday or which day. Okay, we started this podcast in January. It wasn't January that this thing started.
Yeah. To echo your sentiment is the same reason why I say that it's better to be helpful than
Yeah,
impressive.
yeah,
In other words, there is absolutely nothing to gain
yeah,
in trying to impress anybody. It's
yeah,
all about being helpful.
yeah,
And you know that our paths have been quite similar.
yeah,
I remember when I think I was definitely a teenager,
yeah.
and this might have been 1995 or 1994, maybe late 94, late 95. I used to have almost all of my friends are older than me. I had a lot of older friends, people, particularly people I looked up to. In
Yeah,
fact, right from my secondary school days, particularly when I was in Old Trinity Church and all that, they were all this sort of they were like my mentors. They just took interest in seeing me develop well.
yeah,
So they will have hours of coaching, what we call coaching now,
yeah.
and mentoring. They would just be saying, they give me just, and then some of them will give me books, some of them will give me this and that. But I remember when I finished secondary school, and there was an interlude between them and me going to university. So there was a very short period of time when I would just be feeling like I had too much time on my hands. I went to one of them. I said, I said, that's what we call them, Brother Debo. I said,
Yeah.
I'm always feeling bored. I must have been, I think I was
I
16.
remember you shared that with me once.
And he said, the reason why you're feeling bored is because you have nothing to do with your life. You have nothing to do with your time. That's what he put it. Oh my. That was one of the best things that was ever said to me.
Mm,
And guess what?
mm,
That began a journey
mm,
of book consumption.
mm,
I just became voracious, like, oh, wait a minute. So he just said, okay, well, how about reading more books?
mm.
Then reading was for me sporadic. There was no pattern to it.
No pattern.
Suddenly, yeah, suddenly I was on the hunt, like like somebody who
You know, I remember in Agowe that time, people were literally feeding us with materials. You remember
look, put it this way.
Iola will come with all his father's books.
Yeah,
Anytime he goes,
if and I didn't have enough money to buy books myself,
yeah,
but if I saw a book on somebody,
yeah,
I will go and make friends with them. I will go and say hello to them. Hello.
yeah. That was the way we were doing.
And they
Yeah,
say, wait, I like this book. Please, can I
yeah,
read it? The charm,
yeah.
I will come at you. You cannot say no to me.
Exactly,
I'll say,
exactly.
look, give me, I'll give it to you in 2 days'
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
And I will consume that book and I'm on to the next. So
And the integrity of the book will still be intact.
oh my days. Oh my, it became a passion. It became a hunt. Some of those books, I'll just literally sit down. I'll just say, "There's no sleep tonight until I finish it." So there are many books that I read like that. Just
Exactly,
you
exactly.
start you
I
start at
remember. Yeah, I
like
remember.
you start at 9 p.m.
Yeah,
By 2 a.m. you finish. That now you can sleep.
yeah.
And it became a way of life. So I need to go and do my statistics and see how many books have I read. But the truth is this. Look, as they say, it is what the bird
Mm,
has consumed
mm.
that fuels its flight. So personal growth is a non-negotiable.
Can't negotiate. You can't negotiate with it.
As a matter of fact, life reveals
Mm,
how much personal growth
mm,
investment
mm,
has gone to your life.
mm,
If I see anybody in position of leadership, and what you do is you bring thugs to
mm,
beat people up,
mm.
that tells me what you have fed your life with all of these years. Let's say you are 50 years old,
Yeah,
then that tells me exactly
just
what you
an
have fed yourself.
opportunity. Just an
That you have
opportunity.
fed yourself violence in your
Mm,
50 years.
mm.
Let's not be, we don't need to give you any report. You have your report by yourself. It's living with you.
mm,
That report card is sleeping with you.
mm,
You have fed your life with violence
mm,
in your 50 years. If you are 65, you have fed your life with violence.
mm,
That's why you are exhibiting exactly that. If what you do is you bring chaos, that's exactly what you have fed yourself. You are only exhibiting who you are.
mm.
And that's why we're saying, particular, and I'd like to say that story. Last week we were having this youth conference, and I was saying to the young people that were with us that this is how, from that time, I've never used the word "I'm bored" since I was 16.
Yeah,
It has not come,
yeah.
it has never ever come crossed my mouth,
Mm.
because since then I just knew what to do with my time.
You know what to
It,
do.
I just knew I'm either thinking, and I bought me a lot of journals.
Yeah,
In
you're
fact, one of
writing.
them, I
Mm.
in my library now, I can show you the one that I had in 2000, and it was when I was thinking about marriage, and I was writing questions I want to answer before I ever get into marriage. I
Yeah.
was asking myself, just as I stumbled on that book, and the book is still looking very
I
neat.
still have my own too. I
I
still have
opened
a
it.
lot of my own too.
I said, all the questions I have here, they are exactly the areas where I have peace in my marriage. All the ones I have not answered, they're the ones I'm working on right now. Honestly,
Yeah.
look, look. In fact, a time came when I was doing my MBA,
Mm,
I was able to account for 168 hours in a week.
mm,
I knew what was to go into every of those hours.
mm, mm,
I planned them. So you cannot bring an agenda to me
mm,
that I have not scheduled.
mm,
The answer is very simple: no.
mm.
So, uh, and particularly because most of our audience are, people who are a little younger than us.
30s and below.
This is not being too strict.
Yeah.
This is a necessity.
That is the way to go.
It is a necessity.
Mm.
Now, I find out that I enjoy listening to books more than
Yeah.
reading.
Yeah.
It's
That's
faster for my
that's
mind.
that's that's what I have recently discovered about myself too.
My
I
brain,
listen to more of podcasts.
yes, my brain processes information. So I do a lot of audio books now. I consume it. I'm just listening. I'm driving. I'm listening. So my brain consumes it quicker. So all I'm saying is, look, I just like echoing my friend's words that this personal growth investment
Mm.
is a non-negotiable, and the people that don't do it,
That's right.
we
Yeah.
we, we clearly see
Yeah.
how they transmit what they have internalized
Yeah.
in whatever they do.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, one of the most profound statements um, that I had, I think I heard it first from Bishop David Oyedepo, was that in 5 years' time, you will be where you are today, except for two things. There have been different people that have been credited to that statement. I don't know who actually who we can credit to making that statement. I know some people will say is Abraham Lincoln. Some people, I even have another quote here that says it's from Charlie Jones. But whoever said it, the most important thing is that the statement says that you will be where you are today in 5 years' time, except for two things: the book you read and the company that you keep. Kunle, you don't know how that simple quote has literally transformed my life. Now, since the time, I can't remember the particular year that I heard that quote, but ever since that time, it has become my my approach to life. I focus more on who I allow to be around me and the kind of knowledge that I feed into my spirit. Because you cannot be transformed if you are not conscious of what goes inside of you. If you are not intentional about what goes inside of you. That which is going inside of you is what will somehow, some processing will take place from within you that you will not know by yourself. But the outcome of that processing is a transformation
Mm.
that we're talking about. And in addition to that, you also have to be in control of who you allow in your circle of friendship. Now, when you are doing this, you are not being mean to people, or you are not being proud, or you are not being insensitive to people. That doesn't mean you don't like people. That doesn't mean you don't like them. It's just that these are the essential necessity for a transformation to happen in your life.
You can probably see me smiling. Let me tell that in a story.
Yeah.
It was my underlevel university,
Mm,
and I remember standing in the middle of the road that leads into our university,
mm.
and I was just making some new friends then, and these two young boys, they're saying, I'll call them two young men. They asked me to say, look, let's go to the law department to go and look at, let's just go and get some girlfriends. Now, 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 I guess what was going through my head was this. Number one, I'd lost 3 years before I entered university. Number one. So I'm thinking, I'm probably older than these two boys. Number two, I'm thinking, look, I have a lot of catching up to do. And I already came to university, leaving behind, not knowing what to do with my time.
Mm,
So I said, is that what I just told them? Look, this was very, very spontaneous. I said, oh, so is this what you're going to be doing your time? No, sorry. I said, our friendship ends here. Honestly, I defended them right there.
mm,
And I don't remember ever seeing them or talking to them after that day,
mm,
because they just literally left my circle of, they were no longer, I don't mean, now if in hindsight it sounds harsh, right? But I was only a young man, and I was not ready to negotiate
mm,
the
mm.
usurpation of my time. But I knew the people I wanted to make friends with. If I saw anybody with a book that I liked or a tape that I liked, we are friends automatically.
Exactly.
I will go and introduce myself. I decided that my friends were going to be friends who shared same value with me,
Mm,
who are going the same direction I was going. That solidified our friendship for sure.
exactly.
And all the people around me, it does not matter what their ages
So
are.
we went to the same secondary school together.
Yes.
Of course, we talk once in a while, but we were not that very
No, no,
connected.
no. We were not
Not
connected at all.
until our values
It
really,
was it was values that brought us together.
yeah,
It was shared values. Period. Nothing more. It was Christ and shared values. Period. Nothing more. And and of course, look at it. How many years since then
yeah,
we're still following that same thing? There is. I don't need to imagine what you're going to be saying. I already know. I already know you.
yeah,
I know your mindset. I don't need to worry about you. I just need to say, oh, we're talking about this, and that's it. I don't. Your. This is very. This friendship is economical for me. It does. It is low maintenance. There are some people, if they ask me, if they say hello to me, I'm going to be thinking, oh, okay. I'm going to enter mini crisis mode because I don't know what to say to that. I really don't want to talk to them, frankly. And that's okay. Honestly, that's okay.
yeah, it is.
You cannot be out there.
Yeah,
You're look, and I'm hoping people read this the right way.
yeah,
You find out that in the end, all you have is your time,
exactly.
and you only have a limited store of energy. Period.
Now, Kunle, also to add to it, because the way we are saying it, some people might think it is pleasure ride all the way. It's very, very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Personal growth is very, very,
Maybe we should talk about some of those challenges.
it's
Maybe we should.
it's very, very uncomfortable because uh, it will mean spending hours and hours and hours. And if you
Shegun,
look
let me
at
tell you a story. Let me
yeah,
tell you a story if you permit me.
yeah, go ahead.
Do you know in the course of now reading books and starting to discover myself, I now suddenly realized that I had to overcome personal greed.
Mm,
That is, that is, I read a quote said the proof of having overcome greed
yeah,
is by how much you give,
yes, that's
or
sure.
giving is proof that you overcome.
That,
Now, and I was
that's my good dog.
I you know the way I read. If I read something, I want to practice it immediately. That's my mindset. I was say, let me test this idea whether it works.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, let me see so I picked all of my best clothes,
Mm,
tried to give them out.
mm,
And I was trying to test myself. I say, let me give this some of this thing out to some of the other things I have to people that I know don't really like me, or that I maybe I don't like them very much, but let me just try to see if I can use that to break that cycle of, if you like, I won't call it hatred, but you're not very good for me. Yeah.
just the
Let me
barrier to
let
connect.
me let me create a better love relationship with these people.
Yeah.
So I was testing myself and I would do that. And Shegun, the more I was doing that, the more I was deriving personal pleasure that this
Mm,
thing works, that I am the one that is changing from inside.
mm, mm,
So I now believe those things I read even more,
mm,
that these are not just the words of somebody else. These are things I'm trying for myself and it works for me.
mm,
Part of this was why I did not look. You know exactly how we lived.
mm.
I did not have the best. I mean, honestly, my clothes were like, oh,
Oh,
let's not tell the story
so
to,
let's go there.
let's go there. Oh, how about many times when we might not be sure of what we're going to eat, but we
Yeah,
just knew
exactly.
that our future would be all right.
Exactly.
Not because we had money. In fact, most of the time
Many
there was no
times,
money.
many times we will turn amala. There is no stew. Of course, there will be stew, but there is no meat.
Yes.
And we are joyful
But
eating
the
together.
joy,
Yeah.
the excitement, the look, it was a
The
saying
firm
that
belief that the future is going to be all right. Was
yes, we
always
just we just knew that our present was not
does
strong
not
enough
determine.
to put us down or
Yeah,
to determine what we're going to become.
exactly,
We just knew,
exactly,
listen, we'll be fine. We will be fine.
exactly,
In
exactly.
spite of limited
And,
resources, in spite of real challenges.
and people not even understanding what these guys are up to, you know.
I mean, I tell you. This is not, we are not talking about living on bed of roses. No,
Yeah.
we are talking about,
it,
look,
it will always take you out of your comfort zone. You
Shagun, do
can't,
you know that
can't exclude that.
before I
It will
entered
take you out
university,
of your comfort zone.
absolutely, before I entered university, this was when I said I discovered that, oh, the reason why I'm saying I'm bored is because I don't know what to do with my time.
Mm,
And I started to read. Some
mm,
of these books I read were lying down with chicken beside me. I,
mm,
I was working the poultry, but you see me carrying Robert Liardon's book
mm,
or Smith Wigglesworth book, and I'm reading
mm.
in the poultry house. Not, I'm not talking about living on
Sitting
some
on the
posh.
sofa and
No, no, no,
crossing
no,
your
no, no.
legs, zipping one juice somewhere. No.
Let me say this to you. There was one time I was so desperate to have just a little transistor radio, just to be hearing some music, just any sound, but I did not have it. Because at the time, my siblings were already in university, so they are taking all the radios in their house to their school. So it meant that I did not have any personal one to myself. So I just wanted to hear just any music sound, just to sound. So when that I was not, I just said, okay, you know what? Okay, forget about it. I moved my bed to our library. So
mm,
I was just reading any book I can find. I mean, some of them were just story. The story of the research of eagles I'm talking about, that was when I discovered, that's when I went to it.
mm,
That was when I started to learn things that, I mean, I started to learn to type. I was just going for, like, you know what? And now I know what to do with my time.
mm,
The word boredom will never be used, will not be an experience anymore. Up to now, it's as if 24 hours are not enough
mm,
because I have I just cannot, that word
mm,
is edited out of my experience.
mm,
So I don't even like people to tell me to give me one to do because I already have something to do. So before you even came, there's something I already have in my schedule.
mm.
So just to really say that it's not a show off. We
Thank
are
you,
talking
brother.
out of some very challenging experience that we've had.
Mm,
When your first salary was only 500 naira,
yeah.
and that 500 naira is
You
working
will still
11.
buy books. You know, you pay your tithes, you pay your offering, you will still
Yes,
buy books from
yes.
that money.
And this was a working for 11 hours in a day,
Yeah,
29 days out of 30-day month.
yeah.
And the salary at the end of the month,
Mm,
500 naira.
mm.
So don't talk to me about, oh, you had it good. No, 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 no.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just wanted to chip that in just to put it in context.
Now, Kunle, you know, every transformational change always begins with an idea. But unfortunately, that is where most people they continue to live in that realm without necessarily translating that idea into reality. So, talking about moving from idea to realism, because that is obviously where many people don't seem to connect. How can we, or using Africa as a case study, how can we as Africans provide a compelling vision that can galvanize people into, okay, this is a project we want to achieve, this is a project or an idea that we want to translate into action. How can we make, or how can we create a compelling vision such that we'll be able to galvanize people to follow?
Hmm. That's a very difficult question, Shegun. It's a
I
very,
know
very difficult
it's
question.
very tough.
And I thought about, I mean, thinking about it now, I'm just say, but let me put it this way. I'll start this way. It's not going to be a perfect answer, maybe not a very good answer, in fact. But let me start this way. And this is where leadership can be very challenging.
Mm,
Leaders are people who solve a problem or who choose to solve a problem without asking for permission.
mm, mm,
Leaders are people who try to solve a problem
mm,
for which they expect to be blamed,
mm, 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 mm,
meaning that because of what has been happening in them,
mm,
that is, transformed people
mm.
are those who can transform their environment.
Yeah,
Because of the transformation that is happening in them, they begin to see that an alternative future is possible,
yeah.
that it doesn't have to be this way.
Mm,
And that personal conviction,
mm,
which start to manifest in pictures in their imagination,
mm,
connect with their sense of identity and purpose.
mm,
And what this field that we call passion
mm,
begins to build up, like, I have to do this. I
mm,
cannot not do this.
mm,
This is what drives individuals
mm,
to step out, to make their imagination a reality,
mm,
something they are thinking is possible,
mm,
they begin to feel like, you know what, I'm going to I'm going to try. I'm going to do it.
mm,
And I'm going to figure it out. Whether it works or not, I'm going to go there.
mm,
When people are in that mode,
mm,
leadership is born. That's what you call leadership.
mm,
Leadership is
mm,
the capacity to influence
mm,
through a passion that is born out of a deep conviction of the vision of the purpose that you see.
mm,
So, turning the ideal to the real, to the pragmatic,
mm,
to the tangible
mm,
is literally this journey of taking the imprint of your mind, the image
mm,
that you are convinced about personally, because every leader is first and foremost convinced about what they see personally, and they are willing to take the journey
mm,
to go to make it a reality
mm,
before other people start to say, what is he even doing?
mm,
"Hmm, maybe he's wasting his time."
mm,
Or, okay, it's now starting to make sense. Maybe we can help him.
mm,
Before that ever happens, this individual
mm,
has already gone through that journey many times in their minds.
mm,
And they get to a point of conviction. And that's what conviction is important.
mm,
When you become convinced that this can be a reality, that your imagination can become a reality,
mm,
that your ideal
mm,
can become a reality,
mm.
that what you see is not madness, it is a possibility.
Possibility.
And you go on.
Mm,
This is your story, this is my story.
mm,
This is what the story of everyone who has ever
mm,
tried to contribute their own little value to making the environments better. When I was in GS3, you might remember that, one of those is I wrote this essay
yeah.
for which I came first in Ogun State.
Still fresh in my memory.
Yes. The title of that story was "The Child is the Father of the Man."
Mm,
When I finished it, and one of those days I went to see during the holidays, and I went to visit my uncle, and I told him that, uncle, I did this essay and I came first. Of course, he was very happy, but he made a statement which I'm sure he has forgotten.
mm,
He said there are people who make their worlds better than they met it.
mm,
And he said, I believe you're one of them.
mm,
That's all he said to me. I was in JS3.
mm,
I've not forgotten it.
mm.
But I kept thinking about it. Every now and then that thing will come to me.
And I remembered how our principal then,
Ba Kujore.
Baba Kujore, was
Yes.
so excited for
He
you.
was so excited.
He was
And do
so
you know why he was
he
excited?
was
Part
so
of why he was excited.
ecstatic for you. Ẹ bá mi wò, ẹ bá mi wò.
Part of why he was excited was that he was my mommy's teacher, my mommy's biology
Ah,
teacher.
ah,
So to see the son of your
your
student,
student.
and of course, he was also friends to my dad with my dad. So to
Okay.
see the son of your friend and the son of your student
Ah,
also making you proud must have been a very good thing for him. Must
yeah.
have been very good. So
He was so ecstatic
he
that day.
was very excited. He was very happy. But that's by the way. But the story I'm saying is people who make their world
Mm,
better than they met it.
mm,
In other words, these are people who are agents of transformation.
mm,
And I know that so many of the people listening to us right now, they are made of that mold. In fact, the reason why you'll be listening to this podcast is because you are made of that ilk.
mm,
But sometimes self-doubt comes in when you're thinking, I'm not sure. I don't think people like me can do this.
mm,
I was thinking like that too until I met a man, Dr. Miles Moreau. He told me, said, he was saying, he put his hand, he was doing this, he was saying, we're going to work on your mind.
mm,
And if there was anything I needed, that was exactly what, because I did not think that people like me should start a company. I wasn't thinking like that.
mm.
But
You were thinking of looking for a job.
yes, as a child, when when you're a child, you're imagining I'll have two companies.
Yeah.
But when adults will start to come on you,
The reality,
when you have got to work in a poultry house, that idea gets knocked off your head. So I had gotten to a point where I just thinking, just do your job very well, and maybe grow in that job, get promotion. Yeah, and then it was we're going to work on your mind.
Mm,
In those 3 years that I spent with him, literally that was what happened.
mm,
Suddenly I said, wait a minute,
mm.
I can make a difference. The things I've been thinking about, they don't need to be other people's responsibility.
Yeah.
I need to make the things I'm thinking about, they are my responsibility.
Mm.
In other words, the change that you have been so clamoring for, that you
Yeah.
have been waiting to see, it is your responsibility.
I can initiate this.
It is your responsibility. That's why you are thinking about it.
Yeah.
Stop hoping that somebody else will do it.
Yeah.
You had the one to step up to
Yeah.
do it,
Yeah.
and to do it in your
Before
own little way.
I started School of Transformational Leadership and Africana Leadership, I guess, which I can also credit uh, you over because you played a very crucial role in the formation of those two companies. Because I remember December 2021 into January 2022, we spent a couple of hours together just trying to analyze the idea, bringing it from that idea that I have in my mind and then trying to process, just like what we are saying now, trying to bring it from that realm of idea into reality. We were able to do that for some hours over a couple of days. And to be very frank with you, before I got to that point, my mindset was always okay, I will just be in the comfort of my pulpit ministry, encourage people to do something about it. But I began to discover it appears if I don't get on the field and really roll my sleeve up and do these things, nobody's going to get it done. That was when I decided it is time to roll up the sleeve.
And that is the story of transformation. That currently, the reason why nothing has changed is because somebody
That's
is still
no
waiting for somebody else to do it.
somebody else to do it. Yeah,
Because you never thought it was your responsibility.
yeah,
The moment you think, oh, wait a minute. So, for example, I mentioned to you that we do a lot around youth
yeah,
investment. It was because I remember what older people, how they helped me when I was a teenager, when I was 14, 15, 16. I remember. So so when I see a young person, I just feel this person is my responsibility.
yeah.
I don't now you can say, are you the father? No, it doesn't matter. I just fundamentally believe
Mm,
that these young people
mm,
should not go wrong on my watch.
mm,
I'm going to play my own part.
mm,
And really, all that is required of you is to play your own part.
mm,
But but you must be skilled. You must learn. You must learn on the job at times. Yes, certainly you learn on the job, but you must also develop the capacity
mm,
to deliver that part that you have to play. And that means you got to learn. See, when I was doing my MBA, that was part of the education I needed to understand, okay, how do you think about business?
mm,
But you don't need to do an MBA to learn about business. You can go under the mentorship of somebody who already runs the business very well and say, help me. Say, Shagun, you know why I was excited when you were talking about when the Africana Digest was starting?
mm,
It's because when I see any of my friends
mm,
who is trying to make their the problem they see, their responsibility, I get excited.
mm.
And I've, you don't need to pay me a dime. I will be,
I could have paid a consultant
yes,
to do that with me.
I will pour my energy into it. It excites me because we
Mm,
because we need more of those people. We need more people who think that way. People who say, look, this problem, I think I have some ideas. It excites me. And I know that part of my job is helping to transform, to bring the intangible to being tangible. I know I'm gifted at it. I know that's part of my contribution. So I naturally invest myself in it. And I know, I mean, there are many initiatives like that I've been part of because I genuinely believe in people who make the problem they see their responsibility, who become the change that they want to see in their world, who don't point the finger and say somebody else should do it. Do you know, Shagun, one of the worst things you can say to God is use somebody else. Moses was nearly killed when he did that. God spent a lot of time was saying, Moses, I've seen the problem of my people and I need you. But he said, but I can't speak. He said, it's okay. I know you can't speak, but I'm the one that made it. God was, as it were, selling it to him. Okay, you know what? You're not convinced, Abi. Put your hand in your armpit, bring it out. It's white. Oh, what's this? Put it back. Can you see it has changed? It was as if God was God was trying to say, it's possible, believe. And God was willing to continue to do all that until Moses said, okay, God, it's enough. Use somebody else. Bible says, and the anger of God burned against Moses. Look, when I understood that place, ah, one thing I don't want to ever say is use somebody else when it comes to what my responsibility is. So I'm saying this as an encouragement, but also as call it a divine one if you like. But if you are seeing a problem and your imagination is already unleashed on it, and you're saying maybe this can be done, what I'm going to say to you is this: document your imagination.
Exactly.
Document your imagination. That documentation is putting the vision on your mind on paper. When you do that,
Like my
suddenly,
would say, the sharper, the fainted pencil is sharper than the sharpest brain.
absolutely, the sharpest memory. Absolutely. So, and that is the key thing. Document your imagination. Write it down. The next time you look at it, suddenly you have more insight. You write line two, then you write line three. And literally, this iPad, that's all I do with it. When I think something, I just write it down.
Yeah,
The next time I'm looking at it,
yeah,
I have two more insight on it.
exactly.
And many initiatives like that have been started because I do that as a practice. And I've been doing this since the time that I did not have a good shoe to wear. Let me make this is Sam Mirrors. I met one of our schoolmates back then in the school, and the person says she was always looking at my shoe and just laughing at me. I never thought my shoe was a problem. I was just enjoying my life. In fact, it was a certain moccasin, brown and black. and in reality, I remember now that shoe was always looking up. But to me, it was not a problem because because my life was bigger than the shoe. The things I had written down. In fact, the picture of my first laptop was drawn in that book. That those journals. I drew it. This I drew it. And believe it or not, before I left university, I was blessed with a brand new compact laptop.
Wow.
See, look, we are not talking about things that other people have experienced. We are talking about the things in our own little way of experienced and have experienced. That it is not where you come from, that, oh, we didn't have a lot of money, or it is very hard, or Nigeria was equally hard. 500 naira
Yeah.
a month in 1994 or 1995, it's not a lot of money, even by today's standard. Maybe today it will be, say, maybe let's say 5,000. So if you earn 5,000 naira a month, can you really live on that?
Never.
Okay, maybe it's even more. Let's say inflation is so bad.
Well,
Maybe
it's
it's
definitely it's not. It's not.
maybe it's even 10,000 a month. because I'm saying 500 naira in 1995.
mm,
Maybe it's 10,000 naira. Who knows? Maybe. But all I'm saying is, from that money, there was savings. From that money, that was given to my grandmother. From that money, that was given to my grandfather. From that money, that was
that's
that was
very
buying,
good.
yes, buying things from other people, buying, investing, paying tithe from that money,
Mm,
and there was still savings.
mm.
So we are talking about, and I was not born so. I was born to be sheltered, to be like somebody who's just pampered.
To be pampered.
Yes, I was born like that, pampered.
I know well we witnessed is
Yes, yes,
your beginning. We
yeah,
saw how you were being pampered.
yeah, you know that. So I was
Wasn't
pampered really
yeah.
because I was literally, but God removed those feathers. That's why I used the story of an he used the feather. He just removed the feather and said, "Now I need you to fly or drop." And that's the best experience. In fact, one of the things my dad ever did to me that I know was asking me to go and work in the poultry when I could have been roaming about one uncle's house and be thinking that they are responsible for me. He said, "No, I'm not going to allow this. You're going to go and work in one of my friend's companies." So I went to go and work in the poultry house. Honestly, I think that's the best thing my dad ever did for me. That is the best education he ever gave to me. That is the best, I mean, hands down, because it was then I became a man as a young child, as a teenager. That was when I became a man. I suddenly realized, wait a minute, I don't need to. In fact, do you know what I did, Shagun? Maybe I told you before. I made a vow that if I ever go to any uncle's house pretending as if I just went to come and greet them, whereas I was hoping they would give me money, I should be carried out of the house as a crippled person. So I did not go to any uncle's house from that day. I said, no, you're either going to learn to develop and grow and make it on your life, or you just fall away. I took that was when I took personal responsibility that if my life would be better, well, it's not going to be dependent on an uncle and an auntie. You're going to sit down here and be sensible and invest in your own life. That was the change. That was really where the change really, really, really occurred. So when I was now coming to Osu, I did not need anybody to be telling me, "Oh, be serious." No, I already came in with my head properly screwed on my shoulder.
Wow, that's powerful. Now, still talking about change. We know that sometimes change can be very, very unpredictable. Some change can be anticipated, but there are some that happen suddenly. In fact, it catches you unaware.
Mm.
Uh, it happens unexpectedly. So when such change happens, how do you how do you suggest that we deal with such change
Mm.
when an unexpected change happens? How should we uh, deal with that change and relate or engage with that change?
Isn't it true, Shagun, that when we see something that surprises us,
Mm,
shocks us,
mm,
the natural human response is to be afraid,
mm, mm,
is to panic. And so this is where I come back to the words of the Lord, where it says, "Fear not."
mm,
That's each time
mm,
a change occurs to people, the first thing it says to them
mm.
is, "Don't be afraid.
Be afraid. You can deal with this.
Don't be afraid." Because it is natural to feel afraid.
Mm,
But it will say, "Do not be afraid."
mm,
And the reason, and this is even more important because the kind of changes that are happening right now in our time,
mm.
in our lives, in our environment, they are such change, as we said at the beginning, that are so transformative in nature. In fact, disruptive.
Destructive.
Those changes will not leave things as they currently are. We can be sure about that.
Definitely, definitely.
But God's word is like an ancient stone that does not change.
Mm.
on which we can anchor our lives. So you say, do not be afraid.
mm,
That's honestly, I don't have any better way to say this.
mm.
That is the first thing. Please. And I'm saying that to myself too, because look,
Yeah.
there are changes that are going on. And sometimes we can actually, sometimes, for example, now when we hear about how much AI is changing the face of the industry and everything,
Mm,
do you know if people are concerned and thinking, wait, what does this mean?
mm.
But as always,
Don't be
do
afraid.
not be afraid.
Mm.
And
And
then,
don't ignore it.
of course, I'm coming. That's why I say that is foundation. But
Don't ignore it.
also know that
Mm,
doing nothing
mm,
is not an option.
mm,
There is always what to do
mm,
when change comes.
mm. There is
Perhaps,
nothing to do.
perhaps there is something to do before change comes. But sometimes, like you said, some of these things they happen sporadically. You are not
Unexpectedly.
expecting it. And that suddenness of it is what brings panic.
Mm,
And it says, don't be afraid.
mm,
Don't be afraid.
mm,
Because really, if you are a child of God, and all of us, regardless of our disposition, there
mm,
is no change that is happening in the world that is a surprise to God. God has this advantage, nothing surprises him.
mm,
However, when that change happens, or as it continues to happen, um, please know that every change demands a response.
mm.
We can there's what they call the flight or fight
I,
response.
yeah,
We
response.
can say we can panic and try to run away
Mm,
or try to avoid it and pretend as if it's not happening. No, no. That can only create more uproar or more disruption
mm,
or perhaps put us in a disadvantaged position.
mm,
My suggestion is to you know eh, and once panic is not the response, then
mm,
it is maybe that much tiny bit easier to say, let me take a step back and understand what this means. What does this mean?
mm,
I always say there are two questions. The two questions I like to ask myself, maybe three, but I'll say two. What does this mean?
mm,
And where is this from?
mm,
I like to ask myself those two questions.
mm.
Because what does it mean? Or maybe where is it from? Helps me to understand what is the instigator of that change.
The context.
Yes. And then what does it mean? Now tells me, oh, how do I interpret what is the real context of that change? This one is the source. What is driving this change? And the second is, what does it mean?
Mm,
What is the context? What does it really, what is the impact? And how should I respond to this? These things are very important. Um, for example, I mean, we can literally look at there are changes that are happening. For example, security issues, for example, and you're thinking the natural thing is to be very afraid, and who can blame anyone who is scared? Because you're thinking, look, I don't have control. In fact, the inability to control things is what brings panic. Because if you can control things, you may not even you may not necessarily panic. So but God's word to us is don't be afraid. But what is driving this change? What does it mean for me?
mm,
And what do I need to do? This is where sometimes getting away from the noise is important to be able to think clearly and say, look, let me try to figure out in my own little way, in my space. And honestly, the expectation is not for us to control everything because that is unrealistic.
Unrealistic.
What is within my control? After all, you can only do what you can do. So, what is within my sphere of control? What can I influence?
Mm,
Can I also suggest this?
mm,
Who can I help in the midst of that change?
mm.
You'll be surprised that how you try to solve a problem for somebody in the midst of the same kind of change that you're also facing, can bring so much value, so much dividend that you can never imagine. Do you know, Shagun, that whilst I was trying to retake my uh, GCSE, my GCE exam, and trying to redo my JAMB, I found out that there were people around me who also needed the same thing. I started to teach. So what I did was I became a tutor. I started to teach English and math. Inadvertently, I was helping myself. And by the grace of God, I remember, I mean, I can count, there's one of my cousins that we started to study together. You know, I will help him with some maths, so with other things. And he also we both left the poultry house.
You graduated.
We graduated from the school of chickens. Oh, what a graduation.
Yeah.
Our first convocation was from the school of chicken. And and then he went to the Polytechnic, I went to Ogun State University.
Mm,
And up to now, is one of my cousins that I'm so proud of, honestly, because I know also his background.
mm,
And anytime I think about him, I'm just filled with delight because I can see somebody who never gave up in spite of the odds. And but what I'm saying is, as because the tendency is to just say, I'm going to look inwards, I'm just going to save myself. Yes, of course, sometimes when there's some kind of you pressure lowers, I mean, there's a pressure issue in the cabin of a plane. They say make sure you wear your mask and then help somebody else. That's true, but that aspect of also looking around and see who may need help that you can offer, no matter how small, is also important.
Now, Kunle, looking at what you have just said now, uh, trying to emphasize the fact that when the unexpected happens, our our default mode should be not to be afraid. Uh, and then you told us what our approach should be to that change, which should be maybe asking ourselves two fundamental questions. That is, where is this coming from? And then asking ourselves, what does this mean? Now, that's way of thinking that you brought to this question led me to what a message. Well, it wasn't a message. It was more like an MBA course. It was an MBA teaching that was put on one of my on the website on the archive of my school. That is Austin University, and I listened to it. It was a teaching on a strategy, and the man that was anchoring that teaching uh, quoted Roberta Kites, and Roberta Kites says that when you are dealing with change, that what in dealing with change, it is strategy that gives us the structure to deal with that change. In other words, bringing strategy into how to deal with change also lies on that fundamental question you ask: what does this mean? It is in the process of asking yourself, what does this mean, that I believe the strategy
Mm.
that you need to deal with that change begin to find expression.
Because you can't respond effectively to what is undefined.
Yeah.
So it's called problem definition. If you cannot define the problem, you cannot formulate the right response.
So in that sense, now bringing it to the context of uh, our African society, where an average African, I'm also going to make something, I'm also going to say something that is also very funny. an average African believe that the problem we have in Africa is either a natural problem, maybe because of the way we are formed as Black men, or because of the climatic location or the geographical location that we belong, or they believe it's also spiritual. Now, Nigeria just lost out of the playoff recently. I think it was it last week, or when was it? And then you could see that our coach, to be very frank with you, I love the man. The man knows what he's doing, but somehow on that day, he miscalculated. He didn't do the right thing. So in order to anchor his failure on something, what he needed to do was to say the opponents were using voodoo.
And, and their own voodoo was bigger than our own.
They were using voodoo on our player. And somebody, I think it was John Mikelobi, that was inferring that if voodoo is working in football, that Africa would have won the World Cup long time ago. That voodoo has no place in football. But just to let you say, I mean, just to let people see that the problem confronting us in Africa are not necessarily spiritual or natural. They are things that has a pragmatic approach to. You don't have to go spiritual, or you have to go, you have to fast yourself to death before you can solve those problems. You can be pragmatic with them by simply asking questions. What does this mean? Where is this coming from? What does this mean? And then coming up with a creative solution to deal with the challenge.
Like, so supposing that, let's even say some of the problems that are facing us are spiritual.
Spiritual.
Okay, let's define that clearly.
Mm.
Where is that coming from?
Where is it coming from?
What does it mean? What do we need to do? How should we do it? And all of these questions, the strategic and structural questions, let's answer. So assuming we even say it's spiritual, that's fine. What is that definition? What do we have? Do we have a way of thinking about it that ultimately leads us to a solution? What we cannot do is to say it is spiritual, therefore we don't know what to do, we can't do anything, and just throw our hands in the air and then hope for some godly luck. Because oftentimes this tends to be the approach, and then hope that somebody will come and save us. Maybe some white men will come and save us. Some people from maybe it's going to be the Asian men. Maybe it's
Like
going to be.
Trump is promising to intervene in Nigeria in recent times.
So to me, and as good as all of those sentiments are,
Savior is not coming from anywhere.
our salvation is not really in the hand of anybody else.
Yeah.
Unless we make our problem our responsibility.
And become the change.
There is no way an external person will love you as you ought to love yourself.
No way.
There is no way. There is no way. There's no way you will look. I mean, it's just not. It's not the way of our world. It's not. You know. Let's say Trump even has the best interest of Nigeria at heart. He is not a Nigerian. He has never lived in Nigeria before, right? Let's say you bring the whole American army into Nigeria. They are not Nigerians at the end of the day. They do not know Nigeria.
Even from antecedent, we can see that it's not going to solve our problem.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Look, so let's say even say they come with the best of intent. Still, that is not the solution. At the end of the day, it is Nigerians who are going to solve Nigerian problem in the way that it will be useful for Nigerians.
mm,
It is like saying that you have a house and you do not look after your house
mm,
and you expect your neighbor
mm,
to come and fix your house for you.
mm,
Well, you are not helping yourself. It is not a recipe for a positive outcome. When you will not fix your own house and you expect somebody, a stranger, to come fix it for you.
mm,
So the question is, do you not even value your own house
mm,
enough to fix it?
mm,
Do you not value your own people enough in order to help them?
mm,
Because if you don't love your people, why
mm,
do you think an external and a stranger will love your people more than you should? This is the fundamental question.
mm,
Why do you think it has to be somebody else's problem?
mm,
And this is part of what we are saying that Africans, we tend to look for our salvation from elsewhere. When we are the ones that are in that situation, we are the one that are feeling the pinch.
mm,
Why are we not minded
mm,
to be good to ourselves?
mm,
Why is that so? Why must it always be somebody else that should come externally to help us? Why must it be Middle Easterners,
mm,
Asians,
mm,
Caucasians that should come? Why do we need to be patronized? Why do we need to be, as it were, infantilized? As if why do we have to devolve our agency
mm,
to other people? Why? That's the question.
mm,
And part of what we have been saying is that's part of what we've been addressing all day long.
mm,
That we must make our problem our responsibility. We must understand that, listen, if you do not rise up to the occasion, that problem will not be resolved. And it is incumbent on us to, that's, that word we said, value and service. Do we value ourselves enough in order to serve ourselves well?
mm,
Because if you are expecting an outsider stranger to value you, you want to gain your value by the input of an external person. That is a recipe for disaster.
mm,
How can somebody else love you more than you love yourself?
mm,
So you don't love yourself enough to help yourself, to do good to yourself, and you think that a stranger will do that for you. I'm saying that even though I value that concern, the so-called intervention. Yes, thank God, but ultimately, Americans are not going to solve Nigerian problems because America also has its own problems.
exactly.
So why do we think America will leave its own problems and now come and fix us and then say, yes, okay, we fix them. Now let us no, it where have we seen this happen before? Let's look inward and say and ask ourselves this honest question.
Mm,
And why is it that an African,
mm,
a Nigerian looks at his fellow Nigerian and is
mm,
only thinking of destroying them?
mm,
It's not thinking of serving them. Why is that so?
mm. Thank you, Kunle. I think we should begin to wrap up at this point. Several years ago, precisely 2021, going into 2022, December 2021 into January 2022, we both sat down and then, uh, we're looking at the problems that is confronting us as a continent in Africa, and looking at those problems, we're able to come up with certain building blocks. Initially, I had a numbers of blocks that I personally brought to our conversation, but with your help and assistance, we were able to modify them a little more and then expanded them a little more. Now, because I believe what we are dealing with is leading a transformational change. And we are also looking at that in the context of Africa. Now, so looking at the conditions of Africa as it is now, what are those building blocks that is required to bring the change that we desire in
Mm,
Africa? What are some of those essential building blocks that we need to put together to build a structure? You know, just like Roberta Christ says, it is strategy that provide the structure to deal with change. What are those building blocks that we need to bring together as our strategy
mm.
to deal with the problems that is confronting us as a continent?
With due respect to some of the things that we have discussed in the time past, because all of those are absolutely relevant,
Yeah,
and I will encourage some of our viewers to refer to some of those materials and just
yeah.
see what we are thinking and come.
Actually, the article articulating the roadmap for nation building.
Absolutely, absolutely, and of course, what you have been capturing on the African Digest, it's also they all feed into this thing. So
Ah,
we cannot talk about everything in one, in particularly in Luton that we have. But let me just suggest this, and I'm harking back to one of the things that we discussed the last time, the last episode. That number one, we spoke about the place of law.
no, exactly.
We did,
Yeah.
but I'm going to extend that thought and say leadership
Mm,
because it takes leadership
mm,
to drive change
mm,
effectively from
mm,
one state to another.
mm,
But that leadership must be one that truly
mm,
is convinced about the change
mm,
that it wants to see.
mm, mm,
You cannot pay lip service to change.
mm. If you don't believe in it,
No,
mm,
because that's why we say that you don't find a leader and now say, let us make a change.
mm,
No, a leader, a leader is born by something.
mm,
In fact, let me put it this way: leadership happens to you.
mm,
You don't go about and say, "I'm the
mm,
leader now. I want to do." No, no, you don't. You don't go about saying, "I'm the leader."
mm,
Leadership happens to you. In
mm.
fact, you just
You
are.
rise up to the occasion.
You rise up to an occasion. You are committed to the cause, and many times you've gone through a lot of pains and challenges, and then suddenly you see that people are now believing that cause, and they say, we will help you, we'll back you up, we'll go with you. And suddenly you look back and you say, I'm no longer alone.
Mm,
That's really what makes a leader. It's not joking for a position. In
mm,
fact, the positions that people are currently occupying is only exposing
mm,
their weakness, their ignorance,
mm,
their incompetence.
mm,
That's all it's doing.
mm,
Nothing more. That's all it's doing.
mm.
So that's why I'm saying the passion of the leader. And passion, you cannot fake passion. When
Okay.
you're truly driven to
Yeah,
see a change happen,
yeah. It's contagious.
it is contagious. And that passion
Mm,
makes you, let me use this word, it makes you embrace sacrifice.
mm, mm,
That is why most of people who are in positions of leaderships are not really leaders
mm.
because they're not willing to sacrifice anything.
No way. Mm.
They are only looking for,
Want other people to sacrifice
they want to
while they
sacrifice
continue
other
to
people
live large.
for their benefit.
Yeah.
They are beneficiary. They are looking for benefit and profits
Mm,
and sweetness, not
mm,
sacrifice. They are not willing to stick out their neck for what they are purporting to bring about as change.
mm,
These elements are have been tried and tested
mm.
through generations since the earth began. It's not going to change in a time. Change will not happen if you are not willing to be blamed for
mm,
the effort that you are putting into
mm,
seeing that change occur. But what are folks looking for? Praise, not
mm,
blame.
mm,
They want to take credit, not not the the pain, the challenges that change demands.
mm.
These are, I mean, we because the alternative to what we are saying now is to be theoretic and quote Harvard Business Review. No, no, we are gone past that. This is not about quoting. I know enough Harvard Review to quote. That's not the point now. The real element of a leader is born by that passion that drives a pursuit worth sacrificing for. The reason why Mandela was instrumental in helping to birth a new nation in South Africa was because he was willing to personally sacrifice for it. He went to jail for 27 years for it.
It's for 27 years,
Yes.
sticking to what he believed in.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Mm,
Most people that have changed the world, they've actually paid by their blood,
yeah, yeah.
and that's why true leadership is very hard.
It's very hard.
It's not position.
Okay.
That is the flimsiest
Mm.
part of leadership. It's not getting. I'm now the governor. I'm now the president. I'm not. That's not. Honestly, that doesn't make you a leader. It just exposes how much of a leader you are not.
And you can truly tell who a leader is by their conviction.
It is the conviction that makes a leader. It is the conviction that shows in your passion. When you say, no, this must be done. This we will do this, come what may.
Yeah.
It will change. This problem will be fixed. That is what makes the leader. When leader cannot do that, does not want to do that, no, no. It's just an occupier of an office. That's all.
Kunle, it's been nice doing this with you once again. I feel we can keep talking and talking and talking, and we would never get bored because we do have a lot to say about leading a transformational change. And I believe that our audience are going to benefit a lot because we have not only shared theory, we have also shared some very practical experience, some of the things, some of the nuggets that has evolved in our own personal lives over the years. Almost for 30 years now, we've been at it, and putting things together. I just want to appreciate you for taking time out to be able to do this with me. I always enjoy doing this with you, and I just hope that God will continue to provide even greater opportunity to be able to do more of this. Of course, we know there are still more that is coming
Yeah.
in the future.
Our God is faithful.
But the most important thing is to really see the life of an ordinary man on the streets of Dhaka, on the streets of Lagos, on the streets of Abuja, to be truly transformed. That will be a dream come true.
Little hinges sweep huge doors, my friend.
Yeah.
You never know how just a tiny contribution sparks something in someone. So we are not we are not doing this in vain. I'm convinced that this makes a difference.
It
How
is.
much of a difference we may not know.
Yeah.
To take a little time. It take a long time, perhaps soon, we don't know. But certainly it's making a difference.
So, Kunle, thank you very much once again.
Thank you, my friend Shego.
Nice
God's
talking to
blessings
you.
always.
Yeah.
Thank
See
you.
you some other time.
Blessings to the family.
Bye.
Bye for now.